let's see who's gonna be hopping on here. Just rolling out some news, you know me. And then we're going to go for the pain of the selection of what to play. I hope I'll get some company for that topic. Until then, I'll just grind out a bit and collect more resources and whatnot. Well, let's see what'll happen tonight. I was looking forward to this one a lot, and it did cost me a lot of preparation time. I hope the music volume and the screen are fine. I was trying some new settings tonight. Alright, we do gain a lot of XP here. Grabby hand. Oh, we've looted a grabby hand. Awesome. So, also I want to... Where was it? Gameplay. Loot display filter. Yeah, let's go for the normal one, because I'm really tired of seeing stuff that's not really interesting anymore. I don't care if I have found 40 energy more or less, because I have 200,000 of those. These informations grow redundant at some point. And it's okay to be at that point, I'd say. Now, a divination candle. Let's do a little bit of shenanigans with that. Summon a few monsters and clear those out. Collect some sweet XP. I love the divination candle. It's so fun. It's one of my favorite editions of, well, the story thingies. Well, don't know how to call them. So, yeah, here we go. Already rank B with those guys. Perfect. The best thing about the divination candle is that it insanely increases your chance of drawing the creature's card. And I'm just starting with my card collection. So let's see. Oh, I found something I didn't notice lately. The Volpertingers are new. So, 5% chance to attack additional time, 5% chance to cast an additional time. Doubles the chance for those of... Okay. So we will select a new character class tonight, but I want to wait until one or two more people are here. That's why I'm just grinding out my old Necromancer build. That's not really a Necromancer build. That whole formation would have been better on a Defiler or some other class, but I had literally no clue when I started out the game. So, and actually the Necromancer was a selection from my audience, so I don't regret a thing. I love the Necromancer, but the critters I have would work on a different specialization way better. They work good enough to finish the main story though, so I'm fine. Perfectly fine with this. Yeah, it's I really love that build. The corpse explosions and the automatic stat debuffs are working out so nicely. Like, before we even start the fight, this guy has already 6 debuffs on himself, triggering 6 corpse explosions. And these guys have only 1 layer of traits as of now. That's quite nice. So... Alright. Yeah, I really can't wait for a new formation. I've played this for such a long time, I crave for something new. Okay, but where's the cursed chest? No clue. This divination candle has made my map go bonkers. We have so many critters now on the screen, it's insane. There we go. But it's also a really decent way to grind up your XP, because 6 units of the same type are most of the time much weaker than diversity. There are not too many monsters that just amplify it by being 6 of them at a time. That's why the divination candle makes experience gain really easy. Oh, a key. Let's look for the chest. I don't know if I was just lucky the other day, but these big chests seemed to me like they had a higher chance of dropping cool stuff. Okay. There's the teleporter. And still no clue where that chest is that I have. Oh, the giant chest I have to open. Sometimes it helps to just read the quest descriptions, I guess. Here we go. I already have found it a long time ago. Whoops. That's just fine. Let's take down a few more of these dinosaur thingies. Noctremors. They are actually quite decent creatures, if I remember correctly. And the question is, which class shall we pick tonight? I haven't really decided yet, but we only have 4 classes to decide from, so it's going to be not that hard. Much harder will be the selection of creatures to work with. So it's going to be my first attempt here with this game to do something more specialized than just pick things that seem to fit together. I really was looking forward to this stream, because I was struggling for a few days now to finally finish the main story with my crappy build here. I mean, it somehow works, but it's definitely one of the more unrefined things, but it works. Now, what's that? Core forged arms, I see. We didn't find anything too dandy here, but let's get out of here. Already spent long enough on the ground of the sea. There we go. Let's go back home. And let's check out what we'll pick here. So I got the Druid, the Inquisitor, well, the Necromancer. Okay, I only got 3. I thought I had a 4th one already. How far are we with the unlocks, projects? Astrologer and Hell Knight. Now, I just started out collecting these. Too bad. Okay, so it's going to be either the Druid, the Inquisitor, or the Tribalist. Yeah. The Inquisitor's specialty seems to be that he's able to damage people with his healing skills, and the Druid is excelling at picking only 1 creature, if I understood that correctly. Or up to 3. It's a little bit weird to check this out without trying out the skills first, so yeah. I can't really decide. I'd like to have some outside help. Send help. Can't decide. Let's go for one more grind before we decide what to play. Maybe some of you has an idea. One of you, not some of you. Dang. Me language doesn't work. Okay. Like, I really have a hard time deciding between these 3, because I would like to play all of them at once. I already only checked out the perk list of the Tribalist, and, well, Tribalist seems to be a very focused and narrowed down class. Let's see, though. Let's rescue that guy. I mean, collecting new stuff won't be hurting at all, because my brimstone reserves are horrible. I've been churning out brimstone like crazy when I was forging the artifacts for these critters here. And we don't... I haven't even finished a single artifact on these critters yet. Like, this is my highest tier artifact right now, a tier 50 staff. It goes way beyond that. I haven't found the necessary resources yet. I haven't even looked at the god relics yet. There are so friggin' many layers in this game. I can't believe it. So my plan for tonight is quite simple. I want to select with you folks together a character class to play, and then we're going to select the creatures, and I want to have this time I want to fuse all the creatures, so I want to design it with around 12 traits this time. And then we will see, via artifacts we can infuse even more traits, but we have to loot them before we can infuse them, if I understood that correctly. Ow, why are we killing ourselves? Must be confusion or something like that. So that's the plan for today. Inscription shock. Well, it was a bunch of Nemesis creatures. They probably had a effect for that, which I just didn't pay attention to. Sounds like me. Gotta say, with this game I have stopped paying attention to a lot of things until I go for, I don't know, something like the nether bosses or something, or stuff like that. Because it's just too many layers of information all the time. Ow, these hunters. These hunters are also very interesting critters. They do have a lot of alpha strike potential. That would be something I could go for with the Tribalist. The thing with the Tribalist is I feel like it is a class where I could pick crazy many different teams for, because there are so many different monster tribes or class, or well, you know, there's Ents, there's Wasps, there's Imlers, there's Hunters. I just got started, you know. Don't know. This sounds like with the Tribalist, I would have a insane amount of variance inside the same specialization. All right, come on, finish your castings. Get fighting. The corpse explosion combo is just really convenient. Right now I'm also preparing the Hell Knight and the Reaver in the background with my projects. Or no, the Reaver not yet. And also the Astrologer, because I felt like the description of a class that basically fights without your input sounded really, really fun to me. Don't know what's going to be inside that package, but we definitely will try it out. So, Inquisitor or Druid? Any preferences? Oh, yet another divination candle, but this time I won't be doodling around with that thing too much. I don't want to extend the stay on this level too hard. I'm primarily leveling up right now because I had no chance with that build here against the first nether boss, or just scratching his shell. I don't know if it was mainly because the level discrepancy, or, well, I expected that at some point this lackluster build would show deficiencies. It's mainly because I'm playing Necromancer and all my critters are not the least little bit focused on minions. I only picked a combo that is focused on debuffs, and if I understood things correctly, that's more the specialty of the Defiler class and not the Necromancer class. But hey, brought me through the main storyline, so it can't be that bad. Even if it's even played on the wrong class. Ow. Okay. Oh, come on, you. Can't you please stay down? I hate resurrecting critters. Spell Breath. Take moderate amount of damage. 50% is based on attack instead of intelligence. Okay, funky spells all around. So zap. This looks like the guy I was looking for. Perfect. All right. Yet another realm quest, and we unlocked the experiment feature. Okay. Although these features seem to be really late game, but they are very cool instruments to get exactly the kind of stuff you want to have. Because with experiments we can receive spell gem crafting materials. With this I can receive a trait material of my choice. I mean, I can do this only with creatures I have S-rank knowledge about, but this means if there's any trait out there which I really want to have with formation, I can use this to acquire it. And I really gotta say thanks for that feature, because it's so cool. With a game that has that much randomization, it's awesome to have features that give you the ability to pluck out a certain thing out of all this randomness. It's really good. So let's go for the Reaver class as well, because these sound like pretty simple and fun classes to play. Alright, so we're going to check out the Druid Specialization now, and then we're going to see kind of perks they are. Okay, adaptation. Start of battle, your creatures gain a random buff for each creature missing from your group. Yeah, sure. Ancestry. If you have at least 5 creatures missing from your group. That's a fun thing. Your creatures gain random traits that belong to... Holy moly. Okay. Aptitude. Cast spells. Okay, extra spell cast for each missing critter. Extra health for each missing critter. Yeah, the companion trait, which increases my team size to 3. Cornered. Creatures deal more damage for each creature missing from your group. Okay, that's 20% more damage. Dodge, which is stacking up to 35%. Guerrilla tactics. Okay, chance to act out first. Critical damage on 35%. And 10% on every stat. A pack of 1. 35% extra attack chance repeatedly. Reclusive remedy. If you have at least 5 creatures missing, your creatures are resistant to debuffs. Alright, 10% less damage. Extra spell gem slots for each creature missing. Holy. Okay. That sounds like fun. Let's check out the Inquisitor too. Admonish. Enemy sorcery creatures are afflicted with silence. Okay, cool. After an enemy casts a spell, that spell gem is sealed. Life enemies get blighted. Chaos enemies get scorned. Creatures deal additional damage equal to the healing they receive in battle. Wow. That's a nasty one. That's a really nasty one. Vulnerable for death units. Revenge. 50% chance to revenge with Scorned, which stops enemies from attacking at all. Creatures damage from attacks ignores defense. Oh, that's cool. Armor pierce effects. After your creatures are healed, they gain attack and intelligence. What? Okay. So you seriously buff up your minions like crazy with these healing skills. Creatures' healing effects deal damage when applied to enemies. When creatures attack, they deal 30% more damage for each debuff the minion has. Okay. Hey Hyorin, welcome. Nice to see you here. Judgment. After an enemy casts a spell, they have a chance to be silenced. Oh my god. The Inquisitor seems to be extremely strong against spell casting on the enemy side. Enemies can only resurrect once per battle. That's fun. I hate this perma-resurrection stuff. I've encountered that so much. After creatures are resurrected, they deal damage to all enemies equal to their max health. Wow. Okay. That's cool. Rebuke. Fear for nature units. After creatures take damage, so it's their health, they gain rebirth. Yeah, sure. Have a good one, mate. So, I, for myself, have decided that we're going to try out the Druid tonight. Because, I don't know, the Inquisitor sounds way more specialized. And with the Tribalist, I feel like I will need to invest way more resources. And the Druid is actually a really good class for me at this point, because I'm lacking resources like... I'm lacking huge stacks of resources, and the Druid looks like a class that can work quite well with a low amount of resources. Alright, now, let's see. I want to change the clothes I'm wearing, so I want to have the tier 1 Druid clothes. Okay, so the Chalice is using Tribalist right now. Let's see. No. No. Yeah, okay. There we go. Okay, now we have to strip the artifact from our critters. I think there is a... yeah. Menagerie? Okay, here we go. And spell gem removal. Okay. And of course, removing the critters as well. Now, let's go for the pesky selection. That's going to be a really difficult choice here, because we simply have that much. So... it's hard for me to tell what kind of creatures would be really good to focus solely on. So if anybody has a good idea of what I could do here, I'm absolutely open for ideas or recommendations or questions. So arachnolisks, they work around poison snare effects. I don't know. Azura. Since my critters will receive skills that are from their same race and classes pool, it's going to be quite interesting. How about some slimes? I feel like going for some slimes. The blobs. Blob Druid. That sounds like fun. After this creature is attacked, it afflicts the enemy with Disarmed. After an enemy is afflicted with Disarmed, they are also afflicted with Scorned and or Silenced. After this creature attacks, it gains the trait from the enemy's artifact trait slot. So I really like this combo of the Blobarian and the Glupdiator, because, well, this is a nasty revenge combo. This fella is better on the defense, so we're probably going to... let's see. What do we have here? Mystery Mucus. Disarmed enemies have a chance to fail their attacks. Oh my god. It gets worse and worse. Enemy's artifacts spell slots are ignored, whatever that means. But that's sadly all the blobs I have. Okay. I don't want to decide right away. Let's see. Let's go through the list more thoroughly. Brutes. They utilize weak and vulnerable effects. Well. That's the hardest part about this game, honestly. Your creatures attack one additional time, but all their attacks deal less damage. That's just multi-stuff. Apis. Scorn or Disarm. Intercepts enemies' attacks on its allies. No. This looks like fun. Stacking up things. For each turn. For each turn. For each turn. For each turn. So this would be a combo that gets stronger with the passing of time, but I'm not sure if this is really that good. This sounds like more of something I would do for bosses, but I want something that's good against for standard clears, but also against bosses. Something more average and something less specialized here. So Arachnolisks, let's see. Poison and Snare. Yeah, well, don't have anything more potency on these debuffs, but I don't think it's really something I want to have. Crit damage, recovering health, always have Savage. Savage lets you roll every crit twice, and you get to keep the better result. Deals critical damage, has a chance to attack again, deals 200% additional critical damage. These are a really interesting option, because since the Druid class amplifies the traits by a lot, well, what's wrong with a lot of hard-hitting crits? Nothing, I'd say. Automatons, enemies' speed reduction. Reduces attack, reduces intelligence, reduces defense, afflicts random debuffs. So, well, this would be a combo that's really good at debuffing the enemy team. I don't know. I don't see that as a really good decision here. Spellcasters, I'll leave these out. And we use speed instead of attack, defense instead of attack. The bards are a funny bunch. I have never ever seen a good way of using bards without mixing them with other things. So, Cryptbad. Well, yeah. The bats would be an excellent choice for the tribalist, in my opinion. Brownies. It does a adjacent attack, decreases defense, afflicts vulnerability. So brownies are all about splash damage. Yeah, they make everything splash. Carbuncles. They have a 7% chance to gain a random buff. Nah, spellcasting stuff again. Antagonizer. Carnages. What are carnages? If this creature kills a creature, it reduces defense. If this creature kills an enemy, it deals damage. Look at those. Recovers health and takes another turn. Once a time, okay. Kills a creature it gains. Oh, those carnages. I'd say these are one of the best things that came across my selection so far. Kill two creatures, gain random buff. Okay. So the carnages seem like a really solid choice here. There's a lot of they are really strong in attack and speed. Very weak in defense though. But maybe the Druid class can make that work. So definitely wanna keep the carnages in my focus. The Azura and the carnages were the first really interesting things. Carvers. After damaged below. Oh no.
This is very personal.
Hey there, Theodore. Thanks for the subscription. What a nice surprise. And welcome to the stream. Hope you're feeling good. So the carvers are really not interesting at all because they feed on their allies. We don't want to go for that. After an enemy is killed, attacks random enemies. When this creature attacks, it attacks an additional number of times, equal to the number of spells. No thanks. No, the centaurs. I think we would need some spell casting to make that roll, and right now I don't feel like going too hard into spell casting. Ashmouth Cerberus. Creature can't cast. Yeah, these. No thanks. Clutchers. Enjoyed the cultivation gameplay. Thanks for the follow, Kiwi Pelts. Happy to see that. Siralim is an awesome game. Like, Siralim 3 was already really good, but it had a little bit too much tediousness at some ends, and Siralim Ultimate streamlined pretty much all the things I didn't like about Part 3, and ever since then I really, really love to come back here and grind some and unlock some things, and yeah. Then I'm staring at this list for 45 minutes until I have finally selected one minion, and I love every single minute of it. So, the Clutchers, well, they punish dodging quite hard, but I don't want to go down this road. I don't think that's a druid thing to go. You creatures' traits, spells, and other effects that are affected by the number of creatures that belong to a certain class ask if they have 2 more creatures. Okay. Quite a, Okay, I mean, cockatrices are a weird bunch after all. I want to X this out. This is too confusing. Okay, I already went over the slimes. I really like the slimes. Like this disarming enemies, and once they're disarmed, they're also scorned or silenced, depending on their stats, and stealing traits from the enemies, and this is a lot of disable, and the blobs also have very balanced stats. They are number 3 of my favorite lists so far. Let's keep going though. We only have 19 more pages to go. Okay, after this creature attacks, seal the gems. Don't know. The Crunchers seem to attack gems. Crusaders. Well, not at all interesting. This is only good if you are working with a build that gives you extra bonuses for those extra stats, for those buffs. That's nothing the druid can offer. Ceaseless Maker. Deals based on its defense, rather. Okay. That's interesting, but no. Devils. Deals 200% to nature damage. Okay. These are just basic counters against everything, but there's one thing to pay attention to. Since the druid's creatures would gain 3 traits from the same race, if I remember that correctly, that would be an insanely nasty buff as well, but you know, the other things sounded more fun. Diabolic Horde have 10% more health for each Diabolic Horde fighting on your side. So, but this is tribalist. This is tribalist territory, I think, because as far as I remember, the tribalist can also pretend like there were more critters of the same race in his squad. So this is a perfect synergy. Djinns. I don't want to have spellcasting things. No, it's just very tanky stuff. I'm not buying. Dragons. Let's see. After an enemy defends or provokes, this creature reduces all enemies' defense. Wow, that's really cool. If they keep this cool, we're going to do a Dragon Druid. Dragon Druid sounds even cool. After an enemy gains a buff or a minion, deals damage to all enemies equal to speed. Okay. After an enemy casts a spell, these are really good at reacting to stuff and debuffing them in consequence for that. I don't think that's that good for a druid, though. Too bad. Dragons sounded like fun. After creatures gain a buff... Ooh, we have automatic buffing on the druid. This could be a good venue. This creature defends. The duration of your creature's buffs is extended, and your minions gain stacks for each buff they have. Recover health for each buff. That doesn't really... a nugget. Wasn't there a specialization around these things? I don't know. The Ifrit. After this creature defends or provokes potency of burning. Well, sounds like pyromancer things. Well, ends. It's attacked. It gains defense and speed. Mending. Less damage while we have mending. Mending. No thanks. Forsaken starts battle with... Oh, that's the decrepit. That's these units start with high base stats and then they go down the gutter the longer the fight goes. Gargantuans. At the start of the creature turn, attacks a random enemy for each creature that died since its last turn. And this creature attacks... Well... No. Bloodfang Gargoyle. After a creature's cast a chaos spell. No, that's spellcaster stuff. Ghouls. After this creature attacks, it steals speed. Your creatures share 5% of the speed with each other. Giants. Now that sounds like fun too. When this creature takes damage, exceeds health. Reduce that damage. Can I exceed? So this is basically a one-shot protection. Covers 10% of health. After an enemy is healed, gains health. These guys are just basically super beefy. That's not interesting at all. Extra defense equal to adjacent critters. Golems share their innate traits with each other. No. Gorgon. Creatures attacks deal damage and stone. These are based around stone mechanics. Enemy creatures deal less damage. Each creature with stone. Stone debuffs last forever. After this creature casts, it afflicts with stone. Nah. This doesn't really pack some punch. It's quite nice to have all these. I think I'm missing creatures here. I mean, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, around 20. I mean, these are only around 500 creatures of 1,200 in the game, which I have available to summon, so it's really a tiny fraction here. Griffins, no, that's also tribalist territory. Griffins love to be in big packs. Oh, your creatures spell casts. Harpies. Attacks deal more damage and affect blind. This creature defends or provokes. Attacks a creature. No, that's not interesting at all. Bloodhound. Well, direwolves, 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 direwolves. No. Hunter. After this creature. Hunters are also good for... That's all tribalist stuff. Well, although... No, we don't want to have stuff that's only acting out when it's dying. At the start of a battle... Imps. No, that's also spellcasting stuff. Minion stuff. Oh yeah, these guys would be a pick which I should think about for my Necromancer. Just for something for the future. Coloss. After creatures gain... Okay, gain health as well. After my creatures are healed, they gain maximum health. Maximum health, maximum health. I don't think that's something I need right now. Welcome back, Joran. Leeches. Your creatures with leeching deal 30% more damage and no longer take damage from blighted. Ooh, nasty. Always have leeching, healed, and okay. Lepers. Well, we already had lepers, and these are absolutely focused around debuffing stuff. Lich Bloodletter. It's Spellcaster. Maniacs. After this creature is killed, it deals damage. I don't know. Maniacs are about getting killed. There are really good combos that utilize that, but I won't be playing any of these. Enemies attack as if they have 40% less attack. It gains... This creature gains defense equal to its attack. This creature attacks, it also deals damage to 2 other enemies. After creatures gain a stat other than attack, they gain 50% of that stat as attack as well. After this creature is attacked, it deals... Yeah, well, I would need more stat gain than that. This is theoretically an interesting thing, but I feel like I need more Manticores before I can utilize this in a meaningful way. Lurid Masochist. At the start of your creature's turns, each of your debuffs... we can't be debuffed, so... Next. Mimic. No. Minotaur. It's below health, it's immune to debuffs, completely not interesting. Might. Debuff spreaders. Mites would be defiler critters. Mummies. Creatures have 150% more attack. Yeah, that's crazy. This increases attack. I mean, this would be a interesting combo to the Manticores. Like, the Manticores scale off of attack and this guy increases attack. But I don't know. Mummies don't appeal to me here. Nyx, Raptor, your creatures have more intelligence, offense, or spellcaster units. Osanes, after your creatures are resurrected, they attack random enemies 3 times. These are all about resurrection, spell gems, creatures deal 50% more damage. All creatures. That's also, it's always acting on the enemies as well, because it's all creatures. Your creatures take less damage other than attacks and spells. Creatures have a 40% greater chance to dodge attacks. Phoenix. After an enemy is resurrected, it has 75% chance to be killed again. After resurrection... Okay, Phoenixes are all about resurrection. That's quite intuitive. Pillwiz. After an enemy takes damage from bleeding, they lose intelligence, and your creatures gain intelligence. Bleeding. Your creatures recover health. Inflict bleeding. Bleeding. I don't have enough Pillwiz critters to go for. And Pitworms. Steal stats. That's not really interesting. Just creature attacks, decreases defense. That's cool. Your creatures deal more damage to targets that are defending. Cool. Your creatures deal 50% more damage to targets that are above. Well, kinda cool. Attacks, it reduces the target's maximum health to its current health. Ooh, nasty. At the start of battle, afflict each enemy with 2 random debuffs. The pit wraiths are... No, not really. I feel like the other things were way more interesting. After an enemy loses stats, deals damage. Converts each of the target's buffs into random debuffs. After an enemy's debuff wears off, it is afflicted with a random debuff. Okay. Not interested at all. I can't be debuffed with a druid build, and therefore it's not interesting. At the start of this creature's turn, it increases your other creature's attack by... The priests, though. The priests look really interesting, because every unit of the druid's pack gets traits from its own kind, and they would be crazy buffing each other. Start of this creature's turn removes... Yeah, okay, that's useless, though. That's something interesting. We shall keep that in mind. I'm not sure if this is really piquing the others, but it would be an insane constant stat increase. I mean, I could also try to take one priest, one of that, and one of that. Plague Doctors look really interesting. Well, problem about them is they got this interaction with debuffs on my creatures, and with the Druid class I will be immune to debuffs in general, so I'm not too interested at this one. But let's keep going. Your creatures have more intelligence, spellcasting, no thanks. After this creature attacks, a creature with less is killed and your creatures recover. An ally is killed, no thanks. Rift Dancers. All effects that activate when a creature dodges, provoke. Okay, these are synergizers. Before your other creatures die, they cast stuff. When your creatures take that, no. After a creature is healed, no. Enemies can only attack 1 time per turn, heal 1 time per turn, gain stat 1 per time per turn. Okay. Shamblers. Enemies healed afflicted by blight. Creatures deal damage as a result of blight. They recover health. Okay, that's all things blight. Zerath. Provoked. Bottom line. Okay, they are all about provoking and defending. I don't think that's good. Shapeshifters. When you're creeping now. Sin. Enemies start battles with less attack and intelligence. Steals of your other creatures. No thanks. Ooh, slimes. After this creature is resurrected, your other creatures are resurrected as well. After this creature gains stats, your other creatures don't have this trait gain stats as well. If this creature gains a minion, your other creatures gain minions as well. If this creature gains spell gems, okay. Slimes share everything. Brimsmith. Oh yeah, when your creatures attack, they deal additional damage equal to 50% of the total attack bonus. Now, this is only good if we have more than 3 creatures, because this is multiplying with more and more critters. Smog, well, I don't have enough of those to even think about building a formation around those. Snap Trap, after an enemy gains a stat, after an enemy is healed, okay. Soul Flayers. After your dominant creature's attack, the others have a chance to attack random enemies. Okay. Whatever. Spark Tail Career. Okay, revenges when it gets attacked. After this creature takes damage, deals damage. Damage reflect again. Damage reflect again. Additional damage taken. Yeah, these guys are all about tanking. And here, that's the addition. Your creatures deal more damage when it's not their turn, to really pump out as much damage as possible to those responses. After this creature attacks, it averages the target's attack and stats. After this creature gains stats, drains stats from the enemies. So the Spectres and the Plague Doctors would act together quite well, I'd say. Decreases enemy stats. Oh yeah. I mean, that would be a option. 1 Spectre, 1 Plague Doctor, and then somebody else who's profiting from the stat losses as well. Could be an option. Ancient Spirit. After your creatures are healed, they gain a random buff. That's not interesting at all. Not for this one. Creatures chance to stuff. No, that's spellcaster things. Okay, the Hurricanes have really these storm critters have really powerful traits as long as they're above 90% of their health, but you really can only utilize that well when you have barrier effects. Virtual HP are really, really powerful on those. I even would say mandatory. Tremors. When an enemy attacks, it has a chance to be interrupted. At the start of this creature's turn, it afflicts a random enemy with Snad. Stone. No thanks. Pegasus. When an ally would die, stealth to crit this creature instead. Heals. Okay. Valkyries. After an enemy targets one of your creatures with a single target Spell, blah. I'm not interested. This is revenge stuff. I know the Valkyries from Siralim 3. They're all about reacting to enemy attacks. Angelic Void Lords. Always has repelling and ignores damage that isn't dealt by attacks or spells. Okay. It's all about the repelling stat somehow. Whoops. They're all about spell gems. Waspits. Well, tribalist. Tribalist stuff. This creature deals extra damage equal to the amount of intelligence it has greater than its target. Ooh. For each non-ethereal sorcery spell gem it has greater than its target. Each additional dead creature you have. One more damage for each sorcery credit. No, not interested as this. After this creature dies, enemies take damage. They're all about dying themselves. Not interested. This creature deals 100% more damage. Okay. Wisps or something special. Volpertingers. After this creature attacks, it casts a Scourge spell that matches the target's class. Okay. Scorching stuff. When an enemy would gain a buff, this creature has a chance to gain it instead. There's they're like intercepting the enemy buffs. Okay, so we could, let's see, I had seen the Plague Doctor. Let's see if I want to check out if I find another creature that's going to utilize the stat loss of units even more. Let's see if there was something that was working out like this, because I really like the idea of utilizing the Plague Doctors and what were the other guys? The Spectres. I really should take notes in the future. There are way too many things to keep them in my noggin here. Automatons. So the automatons would automatons would be a good idea. So automatons, Plague Doctors, and Spectres. How about that? It's the best thing I came up with now. And we're going to take the Decrepit Automaton as a base minion, because I really like the defense reduction. We could also go for the attack reduction. So since I'm going to fuse two of them together, I'm going to bring the attack reduction automaton as well. We're going to fuse defense reduction and attack reduction into one, so we definitely will destroy the enemy's stats per se. Let's see if that works out. Probably a bad idea, but even if so, I will be a few experiences richer, and I will also have a few critters more, so win-win. So where are the Plague Doctors again? Where were you, Plague Doctors? We really need a search function here. Here. Okay. After an enemy loses stats, deals damage to that. I feel like the Plague Alchemist, which deals automatically damage, is really, really interesting. And I'd go for the Herbalist as well, because the combo of dealing damage when enemies lose stats and attack and destroying their buffs at the same time looks pretty tasty to me. Pretty sure that I will throw this over at some point, but I want to try this out. If I'm able to find the Plague Doctors again. Here we go. And last but not least, let's go for the Spectres. Let's see. Averaging the stats. I wonder if averaging is counted as a loss of stats. That's a good question, isn't it? Alright, we're going to go for this guy. He's going to be the tank. He's going to taunt and force the enemies to attack him. I feel like that's the best thing to go. And let's see what to fuse it with. Oh yeah, let's go for the Night Veil Spectre. Okay, so after these things have been decided, let's start the fusing. So, which one will be at the start? Let's see, we have speed and intelligence, favor. I want to keep the this one here. Automaton. There we go. Let's take this coloring. So, Fusion 1. Then we take the Alchemists. I'll take the Speedy guy. And we're also going to fuse the Spectres next. Attack and speed. That's not really a good combo. Okay. Personalities of these monsters are a real pain. They influence the stats as well, and then you have to adapt to that. Alright, now let's level up these folks. Luckily, we can instantly level them up to their to the highest level of my critters here. Okay, now, whoops, I didn't want to go into these. Let's go for the perks. So, first, where was it? I need the one which here. You can have extra creatures without counting against other druid perks. That's really important to begin with. Now, your creatures gain a random buff for each creature missing from your group. This will, with this, all my critters will start with an insanely buffed, in an insanely buffed status. Then we gain 2 traits per critter as well, because why not? Aptitude, my creatures have chances to cast extra times. No thanks right now. I don't really need that. Extra dodge chance, yes please. 35% dodge chance, sounds really good. Killer instinct, deal critical damage, yes please. Extra, oh yeah, attack extra times, yes please. Resistance to debuffs. And, well, extra spell gems, I don't really feel like I want to have that right now. I want to go for a physical combo here first. So, this is also really good, but not for now. So let's see. Maximum health. Deal more damage. That sounds like something I'd really like to have. This would be 120 perk points, though. Guerrilla tactics, no thanks. Lone wolf. Alright, extra stats. And extra less damage. So I'm going to invest in less damage because I really feel like this is 10% less damage for each creature missing. So that's 50% damage down. Flat. Creatures have more stats. That would be 50% more for everybody. Or we deal more damage. Can't buy them both right now, sadly. But I'll go for more stats for now. And invest 10 points into Cornered and leave it with that. Alright, now, we do have only quite... where are my weapons? I'm pretty sure I had... Do we have now all the artifacts? Yes. So, let's put them to the test. I mean, that was only 1 hour of theory crafting here. Who cares? And it's I'm definitely not convinced that I took the best choices here. So it reduces stats to, from the beginning of the combat, and I'd say this is also one of my attackers, so I'm just going to give that fella one of my bigger swords. Here we go. This one is speedy and he's very intelligent, so it would be actually a good thing to give him some more spellcasting options, but one thing at a time. Right now I don't have any clue what kind of spell gems to equip. I'd be really taking recommendations here if somebody has an idea. So after this creature is attacked, after an enemy is healed. So what we're going to need is here something for the tankiness, I'd say. But I don't have any tankiness artifacts so far. Let's forge one. Let's go for increased defense, shield, and let's upgrade that with the measly amount of brimstone I got available right now. Maybe something like tier 30. Yeah, that should be enough. And let's socket something into that shield while we're at it. I'll just go for flat defense stats here. Nothing fancy. Just efficiency. Because that guy will be... Ooh, dang, wrong button. That guy will be... Decoration menu again. Okay. That guy will be only taunting the whole day. That's going to be his whole job. So, might as well have insane defense stats. Trypophobia. What's that? No, achievements. Let's socket your artifacts 15 times, I see. Alrighty, so now we don't have any spells yet equipped for these folks. Now this critter has the provoke strategy. And now let's see what happens when we get inside there. I mean, I got no clue. Let's go for the realm depth of 69 and check out what they do. But first, I'm going to fetch myself some tea. Gonna be right back, friends, in a minute. And I can only quote a certain bald man, Earl Grey, hot. Because that's what we're drinking tonight. Alright, let's see what it does. So the enemies are acting before we act, and the automaton is now going to drain the enemy's stats. So they're all taking some damage here. And let's see. We deal insane amounts of damage. And let's see. Enemy stats look pretty low as well. And my own critters are buffed to no end. And wait a sec. At the start of Euphoria. So Pandemic we have gained, and okay. Just want to check out what happened here. So creatures take less damage for each debuff they have. Okay. Healing, punishment. Why does he have no further traits? I don't understand that one though. But overall, 7,000 damage. Okay, that looks really nasty though. Let's try this out a little bit more thoroughly. This flurry of attacks is just crazy. And if I understood correctly what's happening here, we're constantly debuffing the enemies, and they should be doing less and less damage the longer the fight goes. But at the same time, it's not the same kill speed I had, like with the other build. So maybe this this tribe. Oh, come on. Okay, who's casting the resurrections? This this enemy, this critter class that made enemies act only once per turn wasn't that bad. So Iranta Orphan cast Minor Resurrection. So can you please stop annoying us here? Yeah. This looking quite effective though. A little bit slow, but pretty hard to kill. We should definitely go for harder matchups here. It's a horrible mistake to play such easy setups here. These guys are massive. Like, and their resistance is massive. So let's keep going. I don't know what relics are, but so let's check them out. It's hard to tell because I can't see how much debuff, how much stat loss has already occurred here. But the multi-attack is insane. Sylvie, hey there, nice to see you. I was thinking about you yesterday, actually. I was wondering if you were well, because we haven't seen a lot from you, but I hope you're feeling fine, and I'm very happy to see you tonight. And everybody, have a nice weekend. We did it. It's a Friday night again, at least over here in Germany, and there's a weekend ahead of us, so cheers for that. Setup looks promising. Well, I'm only a little bit unhappy about the low speed, but at the same time we're going to, I think we're going to pay the, we're going to go for the nether boss in the next dungeon. We're just going to grind these down. I think I need to eliminate a few text messages here though, because the, oh, I hate it. I hate divinity. Let's resurrect everything. Die. Oh man, they got so many resurrection spells. It's not like they have any chance of getting anything done, but okay, that guy in the corner has to be destroyed. So it turns out the stat drain damage isn't that much. So, but I definitely assumed that some of these pieces will be shifted later. I really do like that part where my plague dude is transforming enemy buffs into debuffs, because this means the enemy's buffs are pretty useless to begin with. Bang. Alright, that works out quite decently. And I even gain a few provoker points. Alright. I mean, with the Druid I already noticed that you can go for a lot of different setups here. And in the long run I am quite convinced that it would be it would be actually beneficial to have a certain variety here. Also, I take some more gaming wishes for tonight if you are into some something else later. Otherwise, I'll just stay here and grind. But I also feel like playing something else, but I have a super hard time of deciding what to play, except for this right now. Don't know, lately I have a little bit of decision difficulties. Satisfactory update 4. Yeah, Satisfactory. That's a good mention. I mean, I do have the early access now since quite a while, and I haven't played Satisfactory further than, well, I don't know. Just try to remember. I think I was just at that stage when I was where I was only short portion away from unlocking some mini-map? I don't know. It's been quite a while. And I had a lot of trouble with that game because the ego perspective really fried my brain when I tried to catch some oversight. Experimental this week's drones, hover pack, late tier. I have followed the news. Oh yeah, a mimic. I had tons of problems with mimics with my other formations due to their tankiness, but I shouldn't call this problems. I feel like the Spectre is a little bit underperforming in this scenario, though. I would really like to go for something heavier than that. A taunting minion is nice and dandy, but if I only have 3 minions, I feel like it would be better if all of them attack. Especially since I have a trait that allows me to multi-attack. So we should really think about how to exchange that fella, because the rest is just working out really well. So another stat reducer would be the solution, some more direct. Hey Joe, just stopping by tonight? That's okay. I'm glad to see that you have a life beyond watching my streams and watching my content. That relieves me. Enjoy the weekend, my friend. I hope you had a great day, and that goes out to all of you. I hope you had a great day and so far. Ooh, we found a skin. Going to catch up on ACS. Oh yeah, I had a lot of development lately. Yeah, nice. Have a good evening, mate. It's really nice of you to stop by, though, and say hi. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Hope you guys were going to have a good time. And like I mentioned before to all of you, usually I'm not doing regular streams on the weekends, but it looks like this weekend we're going to have a Saturday and a Sunday stream, because I happened to prepared, or it happens that I have prepared all the stuff that I wanted to prepare before the weekend comes already today. So that's time for more streams. Hyorin is on detective work here. Detective Hyorin on the case. Alright. Ow! Hey, didn't this thing tell me I was immune to debuffs? Why are we debuffed? Nobody here is judging. See you soon, Joe. Enjoy your time, mate. What is happening here? Why do we get debuffs? I should have a debuff immunity. If you have at least 5 creatures missing from your group, okay. You can have additional creatures, 2 additional creatures in your group without it counting against Druid perks. I'm pretty sure they had some override. I mean, that's the only thing I can imagine. Or I have misplayed my formation somehow. That could be also the case. But it's rather hard to tell. Alright, let's visit Kiichi. I had no chance against that guy the last time. Let's see how horrible it will go this time. Maybe it'll go perfect. Oh, here's the portal right away. So, let's check out Kiichi. Nether bosses are kind of like the late game event content. Enemies always have bleeding. Okay. Yeah, we're not bleeding here. because we're immune against that. Enemy units are just that strong. But I assumed that the stat debuffs could be really, really powerful against these guys, because we're just... the longer this fight goes, the worse the situation gets for them, and the better it gets for me. That was the whole idea behind this formation. Maybe I built this formation too much towards hard challenges, but at the same time, it's always good to put up your idea against a hard challenge. Yeah, we're just... Ooh, we got buff stripped. But Kichi is also down. That's, well, it works out quite nicely, I'd say. Yet still, with the Spectre, I'm not that happy, gotta say. I'd be really... I will be looking for something else. So... let's take down the other folks first. That guy in the mid is just lasting forever. Bam! It's the first nether boss I cleared. As a reward, you can now place the nether shop decoration in your castle. Okay, we have unlocked the nether shop. Let's check this out. Alright, this was the realm quest, and I also gained a few more perk points. That's cool. Oh, more one of the really cool nether realms. Giving me a lot of favor here. I really love those. Revenant Dragon Scale. Oh, that's a trait thingy. With these items, you can copy other critters' traits without having by socketing them into items. That's really cool. All right. So, next plan. Let's dive as deep as possible, I'd say. But also grind out the masters on each level. But overall, I felt like these enemies were absolutely no threat whatsoever. Maybe I should pick up a brownie. Oh no. I need something with stat decreases. Definitely want something with stat decreases. That would be really cool. So, Sylvie, thanks for the recommendation of Satisfactory. I really want to dig this out, but definitely not gonna pull that off tonight. But I kind of like forgot a little bit about this game. Although, well, with games like these, it's really hard to get past the competition for me because, you know, I'm not the biggest dog in town, and the big content creators are really hard to compete with. Priestmaster. I believe that every group should have at least a few priests, as they're one of the most well-rounded creatures in all Rhodia. They have the unique ability to empower your other creatures as breakneck speeds, causing them to snowball until they become unstoppable. Yeah. Let's see. Doesn't look like they're, oh, enemy fire priest cast resurrection, okay. Oh my god. So, who had the mountain priest had a resurrection? Let's see who has resurrection with them. Alright, mountain priest has resurrect, no resurrect. Resurrection, minor healing, okay. It's really only these two. Half party. Hey, AQTV. I'm playing Druid, and I need half the party to trigger my perks. Otherwise, I would not receive the bonuses. That's why we are only playing with half a party here. Looks like a mistake, but it's actually intentional. There we go. Priestmaster. If all the creatures in your party belong to the priest race, their innate traits activate an additional time. Sick. This calls out for a tribalist run another day. Too many good things to play. Too little time. Alright. Let's grind them away. But honestly, this combo is much more stable than the Necromancer combo I had, and I don't feel like I'm that much weaker now. I'm a little bit slower in my clear speed. That's something I really realized, but I think as soon as I have replaced the Spectre with something more destructive, that would be a thing. I mean, I really do like the fact that we're debuffing the enemy, we're decreasing enemy stats and damaging them while doing so. But I think this is not the best way to go. But I didn't assume to go the perfect way to begin with. This game is way too complex for a quick solution here. Okay. Quiet viewer. I'm sorry, man. I was just too stupid to read your name. I just realized what I did there. A quiet viewer. Well, thanks for the request. Ah! I just had to do that now that I realized how what I did there. They killed my Spectre. How dare you? Alright. So yeah, this calls for some more optimizations. But I really do like the fact that nowadays we're just able to level up creatures via the fusion vendor. So I can just pick up whatever minion I want to and level him up quite fast, so it's really cool. So why are these sin critters always that resilient? I wonder. But they are really just destroying themselves here. I mean, how come that this guy is not suffering such little damage at the start of battle? So he stole all the stats from his fellas? It's hard to believe. Such insanely high stats just by... Okay, whatever. We're shredding him now. Playing Sorcerer. Okay, I've never ever played spellcasting specializations yet, sadly. There's just so much to discover, you know. But the Druid really made me curious to begin with. So I wanted to try that out. And so I did. I started the game with a Necromancer class, and well, that Spectre just doesn't work as I wanted to. Now, where's the teleporter? Let's go home and work on that. So, let's see. We're working with a combo of reducing enemies' attack and in defense. This guy deals damage in like 50% of the lost stats, so we need something else that just destroys enemies' stats. Shouldn't be that hard. Sort by owned, sort by name, sort by class, sort by race. There's just nothing really good there that we could go for. Sorting wise, I mean. So if anybody has a good idea what's a good stat drainer, I'd be definitely taking a recommendation here. Because I feel like going strong on that strategy could be a nice idea. I'm going to try out other things in between. So, Quiet Viewer, what kind of setup does the Sorcerer run? I mean, do you spam spellcasts, or how does that exactly work? I'm really curious about that. Blobarians. Well, they don't drain stats. Too bad. Yeah, I'm already running automatons. That's my first creature I'm using. Thanks. Those were the first I used. Just checking out who's... There must be more creatures destroying enemy stats. Can't be that these are... Oh! Dragons! After an enemy defense, creature reduces all defense. After an enemy gains a buff... No. Revenant reduces all enemies' intelligence. Critical damage. After an enemy dodges... too conditional. Way too conditional. I need something more reliable. The Forsakens have just insane stats and decay. Pretty sure there will be some solution for my problem. Okay, Delirious Ghoul. Well, it would be a pretty simple solution, I mean, but I don't feel like. Sorcerer perks give you double cast in every spell, plus 25% chance to cast spells again. Oh my god, sounds crazy. And a lot of fun. I'm so amazed that with this game, most of the things available are fun and cool to play. I'm really astonished the more I play Siralim. This game might look like not much, but it's actually one of the best sandbox teamfight games I've seen in my life. Impexer. Inquisitor. No, these were minion masters. These increase stats when they increase HP. No. There must be something somewhere. Come on, maniacs, they're just As for the team, my first support fusion also gives an extra cast to all spells, but they do all this damage. Chance forever my creatures to cast the first. Oh my god, I see. So I think a lot of most of the time you just start the combat and you don't even have to do anything. No, this sounds like one of those combos where you just have to sit there and let the combat resolve itself most of the time. That sounds really cool. So, come on, there must be something. I know there's something. Resurrection thingies, Pillwiz bleeding. At the start of each ally's turn. That's stat gainers. That's stat decreaser, so you have triple cost, 50 chance to cast again. No, and another of my creatures give them 50% chance to cast their spells an additional time. Triple cast, chance to cast again. Oh my god. Are you getting along with the spell charges? Is that any problem, or is that not really a problem? So, here we go. These worms would be one solution. Let's keep them in mind. They act on each enemy's turn. That's a good thing. Wait a sec. Here. After this creature attacks, it decreases target's defense. It's good, but not good enough. Or I go for this. Oh no. There's a perk that makes it so that you only use one charge and extra cast. Oh, that's great. I see. Because I was already wondering if you weren't running out of charges insanely quick with that kind of setup. But of course, this way everything makes sense. Nice. Ziravs, shapeshifters, sins. Slimes. Smiths. Snap traps. Soul flares. I really noticed that there are way less ways of decreasing the enemy's stats than I actually wished for. But I gotta say, there's still so much to unlock. Alright. Whites. Wisps. Wolpertingers. So no, we're going to run with a combo of I'm going to do a combo between the Spitting Pitworm and the Pit Wraith Dominator. So if I don't insta-kill the enemy at round start, I just need to cast Evolution on my Jin Pyromancer, okay. That sounds like a lot of fun too. Alright, let's see. Where were the worms again? So either we go for a double worm, but no. I want the Pit Wraith Dominator. This sounds like a lot of fun to me. Worm plus Dominator. Oops, I have to check out who's low attack, high defense. Okay. This is going to be the parent. They look funky, gotta say. Because you need to remember it actually casts evolution. What's evolution actually doing? I at a loss here. Care to make me smarter? Here we go. And now let's take that away. And let's try that again with a triplet of real attackers. Doubles your stats except... Oh my god! Alright, that sounds like a ton of fun. I mean, this formation here right now is... I'm basically just doodling around here. They don't have any spell casts now. No, you're ugly. What? What's that achievement? Fuse your creatures together 5 times. Okay. Now, let's kill those guys. Okay, that's a lot nastier. Okay, but what I do lack right now is Leech. I feel like my critters are dying quite quickly. Maybe that's going to be a problem. Let's see. 10,000 notched axe. That sounds like a Reaver item. Cast it on my Jin's intelligence one from 1.5k. All right, that's it's almost 4 times of where you started at. That's crazy. So let's see how this works out now. Edwin Tubbs. Obsidian floor, thanks. Oh, I need to check out what's the trade here. Your creatures are afflicted with a random debuff at the start of their turns. So this obviously overwrites my druid trade, which is kind of mean. I mean, he does 35% of his intelligence as damage to all. Yeah, sure. On what level are you? This is 71 right now. I'd be interested how far you came with that stuff as of yet, because it sure sounds bonkers. So we just had a hit for 13k damage there. This, another step? What's that? Obtain 5 floors for your castle. Okay. Alright, this starts to be fun, gotta say. Maybe this wasn't the worst synergy to begin with. 15k! And this is just rookie numbers. Alright. The automaton's stat drains are really cool. Like the enemy. Sadly, you don't see how much drain they got. So it's really hard to keep track of the actual effects here. Imling Master. Imlings are extremely intelligent creatures that are known for the devious battle tactics. However, they're quite frail and can't take too many hits before they fall, so they rely on their massive Imle partners for protection. Let me show you how it's done. I really love those masters. Oh, these are actually Imlers I've never seen before. Oh my god, we're dealing so much damage. And that multi-attack trait of the Druid is really awesome. Like a 35% to attack another time every time you attack until this roll fails. It's basically like if you were rolling a 6-sided die, and whenever you roll a 1 or 2, you get to roll again. That's basically the chances behind that. This is really strong. Your Imlers and Imlings take 5% less damage for each Imler and Imling fighting on your side. So if we do 6 of them, that's 30% less damage. Not bad. That would be really good. Kick Freak, hey there! Well, it's weekend and I'm enjoying it. What's up with your side? Sadly, you missed the last ACS stream. I hope you were catching up on the uploads I did. But we're going to do more ACS streams in the next time, don't you worry. And I have mentioned it before. Yeah, I saw this video, it's great. And I mentioned it before. This weekend we will be streaming Saturday and Sunday too, like 10 p.m. from 10 p.m. GMT plus 1 time zone to, I don't know. Haven't figured out yet. So usually I don't stream at the weekends, but this weekend works out for me. So, hooray! More stream time. All right. So I don't even feel that I'm diving deeper and deeper, so we should be definitely... Ah, you're from Europe, nice. Well, I would assume Germany. I would assume Germany, because I know the... I don't know if Kick is a retailer that's in other countries as well. But as a German, I recognize that shop instantly. Alrighty. Wow, we're just destroying these guys. That easy. Chaos Plasma, what's that? When your creatures buff an enemy, they debuff them instead. When your creatures debuff an ally, they buff them instead. Okay, that's strange. But it can be really, really useful, because this way you can use your defensive spells offensively and your offensive spells defensively. So that's a coincidence. I'm not German, but you would like that language. Learn to know well. Your floor 57. Oh yeah, okay. So I think with that setup, you should have decent chances of steamrolling the game. Although there are a few nasty surprises when you get to the end of the game, or closer to the end of the game, actually. But I really can only recommend everybody to finish the main story. Well, not as quick as possible, but it's really good to get through this to unlock all the features as quick as possible. At least I felt like that. I really did enjoy everything I unlocked at this point. Alright, now I think we're... no, it's all 5 floors now that we're facing new Void bosses. go. The worst part was that the last boss had a really nasty stat, a pretty nasty debuff combo that really wrecked me pretty hard. I don't want to spoiler too much, but that was really a problem for me. So, Maniacal Ghoul. I feel like I should definitely think about spell gems that trigger on attacks or something like that. We could go for spell gems that even reduce the enemy's the enemy's stats even further. That could be an idea, but then I would be running out of charges quite soon. That's the bad side about it. So it's a little bit difficult. I have pretty much no experience with manipulating spell gems too much, so maybe there are options to counteract against that, but I'm not aware of them as of yet. Demolition Derby, what's that? I love those achievements. Decrease the defense stat by a total of 100,000 points. Okay. I have to find a lost soul and put it to rest. Okay. Works fine for me. I'm quite happy to see you guys in that number around here, so thanks for everybody watching. Appreciate that. Feel free to drop this channel a follow and stay informed, like I mentioned, often now. Streaming quite almost every day in the evening hours, so I'd be glad to have some joiners. Do I have something specific to kill Todorith? What was Todorith's? Well, I did use my Necromancer build, which revolved around the crazed leper, who's spamming corpse explosions for every debuff on the enemy unit once it dies. I basically completed the whole game around based around this one unit. It was a little bit crazy. The Immortal Butcher was. Wasn't that the guy that was just invulnerable? If I remember correctly, the trick was just to survive long enough until the NPC guy killed him. I think that was the thing. Isn't it the boss that just takes no damage whatever you do? If that's the case, you just have to survive it until the other NPC of the story is smacking him away. I think that was the thing behind that, if I remember correctly. I don't know if I'm mixing things up here right now. Suffocation, silence, and stone. Oh, a treasure! Nice. I really love those masters you encounter in the lower levels, giving you extra traits for specialized trait teams. Spectres excel at crippling their opponents, making to make for an easy kill. Their kits are really great too. Well, I mean, those babies probably aren't really their own kits, but you know. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I had to start New Immortals because I kind of killed myself with that Yao Guy Tribulation. I spawned a Golden Core beast in the middle of my base when we were far, far away from being able to deal with that, and the end. Sigil of the Spectre. That's been the incident, yeah. I basically forgot everything I learned about the game for about 10 minutes and managed to destroy myself. GG. Your specters decrease enemy stats by 50% more. Oh, look at that. So now we call it the incident. Oh well. Or like a certain person loved to say, death waits only for the slightest lapse of concentration. Here we go. I'm really just clearing these floors out like nothing. I didn't expect that much power from the build, although the white here is a little bit nastier, but Curiosity killed the cat. Yeah, definitely, definitely. One of my cats fell out of the window a few years ago from the first floor of a flat, of an apartment flat, because he was catching flies at night in front of an open window. Luckily, he didn't suffer any injuries, but that just reminds me of that saying. What class does the Amphisbaena Inspector belong to? I have no clue. Life would have been the correct answer. Can't even say that I've ever seen that critter. Alright. But I do like the outcome of this one. So now I only need to play this a few more hours and craft a ton more team compositions, and then I might be able to do a little bit of a Druid guide for YouTube. But I feel like people would really like to have some gameplay guides for that, for this one, because there's just so much to do. And I really felt like playing the first class you selected and evolving around that wasn't too hard, but diving deeper into new stuff was really, when I had that many resources to begin with, was a lot harder. But it also feels quite entertaining. Oh, I could leave, and I should leave. I want to play this too now. Game is not expensive. That's true. That's true. Siralim is a really fun game. It's also pretty casual. It's like 80% of the time it's a casual game, and 20% of the time it really takes your brain power to the max when you're building new stuff and that soul was not able to just fly over there. Luckily, I was here to help. Just buffing my Jinn with evolution, waiting for something to happen. Oh, I need to go to this guy. Those statues are quite valuable. Alrighty. So probably gonna check out if I can increase my artifacts when I get home now. Wow, that damage is so insanely high. I wonder if minimum attack means that I've already minimized their stats completely. 80k intelligence. Sick. Oh, look at that. We just survived with 9 HP. I really feel like I need some sustain. I really feel like I need some sustain. And also I need to go somewhere and fetch myself some new tea. Gonna be right back in a minute, friends. I hope my empty chair was able to entertain you friends quite good. Did you see the burst chi method? It's kind of bug for min-max and you can't get it. Yeah, but I didn't really pay attention to that one yet, but I gotta say, it sounds quite exploity. I mean, Because, I mean, with the 4 items in this place... Okay. I haven't really watched that video, and I gotta say, I'm not the guy promoting exploits, because, you know, it's boring. Sure, it's quite an achievement to discover an exploit and reproduce it and make it and utilize it. Sure. I'm not saying that people who do these things are despicable or anything in that way, but I personally am just bored by things like these. So let's see. I got another empty stat slot, but I also got these trick slots, and I want to see what we can do. I mean, defensive on damage. Leech on damage would be actually leeching on damage. We got that. Mending on damage. So I could just basically... But does on damage mean that... Well, does that mean I have to get damaged or damage something? Good question. Or both do. Attack damage. Ooh, sexy. But because I'm a simple mind and I don't know much about this game, I'm going to install leeching, 16% leeching on damage. I have no clue if that's going to work out as I intended to, but we're just going to try. We're going to do 2 times leeching and 1 time mending and see how these work, because I have no clue about using these thingies like that. Still ain't fun. Takes the hard part of the golden core from the game. I don't know if somebody is happy with that, I let them be happy with that. I personally think it's just... I would be feeling like I would be cheating myself from the fun if I would be using that repeatedly, like this kind of exploit. Because a game is meant to be beaten in a regular way. It's at least my opinion. Everybody can differ from that opinion as he wants to. Let's just go glass cannon. I know it's not the best idea, but... And what can we do for the other trick slot? So we can attract buffs with that, and we can attract debuffs. Chaos strength. What the heck is chaos strength? I guess it's strength against these elements. Huh. That's what it means. Poisoned on damage, proficient on damage. What's proficient? I have never checked this out. So, spell gem slots, spell potency. Oh yeah, I want to do the attack damage thing. Oh, I'm out of brim. Yes, we're talking about Amazing Cultivation Simulator, yeah. I happen to do a lot of content about this game as well, because I really like it. A lot. It has the clunkiest user interface I've ever encountered, but that's pretty much the worst I can say about this game. Seriously, past that, it's just a wonderful, deep and rich game, which introduced the Chinese mythology in a really wonderful way. Well, ACS is pretty similar to Siralim. I mean, these games definitely can be mentioned in the same niche, because, well, if it comes down to insanely deep games with lots and lots of content, both of these games deliver. I've already been through 1/3. I have a hard time thinking that's already a third. Because I haven't touched Shendao cultivation yet, really, and I've only dived into the outer layers of body cultivation. So if we go for all the cultivation styles, I'm not even at 33%. 33% would be after I have finished everything about Shendao cultivation, and I'm not even close to that. So... I was in the closed English beta of it. Ooh, you were a beta tester. Nice. Well, I don't know how much has changed, but I have a really long series on YouTube, 2 of them actually, and you can check it out there if you want to dig it. I also stream it at least once per week, roughly. That's at least my goal too. There are a few games which I try to stream at least once per week, and ACS is among them. So. Alrighty. What I really like about ACS in general is that it never grew bored I never grow bored while playing it. Sometimes I feel like, man, should I really play this game again? And 2 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I could do that, and I wanted to do that, and I wanted to do this, and then it all starts again. You made some guides? Cool. It's a pleasure to meet you then. Well, I'm pretty sure that some of your knowledge has persisted. I made the experience that things in the internet just don't get lost, if you understand what I mean. So, the world is a small place. Alright, how far are my projects, though? The astrologer is going Ooh, we're not that far away from the new classes. So I really want to try out a lot of new classes now. I don't know. I do like the Druid, but I got the slight feeling that I was pretty wrong about the Druid in general. When I assumed that he doesn't need lots of resources, I think that's was a wrong assumption. It would be fun to see an all-physical cultivator sect. I don't think it's useful. I made the experience that physical cultivation is kind of a pretty decent solitary thing, and after all, you need to collect all these different essences, and it's already hard enough to bring up all the necessary essences for one cultivator, so I think it might be possible, but would it be useful? I highly doubt it. Just to, I don't know, I've never dived too deep into that. I might be wrong about that. Unicorn Master. Unicorns are valiant attackers that use their enchanted horns to unleash powerful restorative magic on their allies. While any party could benefit from having a unicorn or two, I prefer to bring along a whole army of them. Okay. The Unicorn Master is upon us. I love that. So we really did that much damage only by stat drains. All the damage you see here is exclusively stat drain. I'm really impressed by now. Strategy works out better than I had anticipated, but still I think the same strategy would work better in a party of 6. Like, I feel like I'm restraining the power of the Plague Alchemist at this point because I'm not amplifying its power by multiplying the stat drain sources, but after all, I'm really at the start of this game. My account is like 50 hours old and I'm at the start of this game. My unicorns attack 2 additional times. Sick. That's a sick thing. I tried one physical cultivator. The difference I saw is that their damage scales way faster than the loss. Yeah. Well, as a rule of thumb, the Flood Dragon dies to a body cultivator, and the Phoenix dies to Jandao cultivators in a strong formation. Or at least that's what I've been told. I've never seen either of those. I literally just finished my first, I mastered the process of creating Tier 1 Golden Cores reliably just a week ago or two. Finally wrapped my head around Spectre refinement and such things, and yeah. Game has a insane learning curve, but in a good way, you know. Okay, we're pretty done with this floor, but since I'm steamrolling it that hard, I want to loot it a little bit more because I'm just out of resources generally. So I really want to try out more classes here. This game's got me hooked quite hard. It's like, in that department, Siralim Ultimate delivers so much better than Siralim 3. The character classes really etch out your playstyle way better than in the third part. I mean, in the third part you had way more specialization options, and some might say that right now the perk system is a little bit dumbed down, but at the same time I really feel like it's It's streamlined in a positive way, my personal opinion. Do you think you need to sacrifice the first cultivator to get G1 after, or do you prefer taking more time to get a G1? I rather... well... that's a difficult question, because I don't know what's the most efficient way to do it. I mean, basically I would say yes, it's absolutely worth sacrificing the first cultivator to some lower tier out of a simple reason. Golden core cultivators travel a lot faster, and let's be real with this game. Lots and lots of your resources are being generated by adventures, and the faster you can adventure, the more access to valuable resources you have. And therefore, waiting for high tier golden core, you basically only want to make your first character way more tanky and give him access to some more complicated rituals, or no, miracles they're called, like these things that need tons of chi to be casted. But that's you preferring HP and spellcasting in the future over early access to resources, my personal opinion. That's how I see it. It's well, it's a good thing you mentioned the Fire Cultivator, Quiet Viewer, because the Fire Cultivator is an excellent choice to gather the Earth Flux from the neighboring sect, which is one of the strongest early game medicines to make your golden cores more powerful. And if I even remember correctly, the Fire Cultivator was also good at collecting that stuff from the that wicked flux from the Exultant sect as well. I'm not sure about that one either, but I'm absolutely sure about the Earth Fluxes. And with Earth Flux, Ganoderma, and Red Ginseng alone, you can create golden cores tier 3, tier 2 easy, and that's a really good start. With those, you can defend your sect against pretty much everything until the appearance of the Flood Dragon. At least my experiences say that. Alrighty. So we're well, I'm a little bit thorough here, but this is also the deepest we went yet, and also I feel like applying these tricks was really a good thing. I think it was Regalis ruling over the Arachnid's Nest. Cool. We now gain game
You're
tickets.
welcome.
Thanks for the follow. What's the crake? Welcome to the stream. You want a Fire Cultivator with high luck. Exactly. Luck is such an important stat. If you haven't realized it yet, there are so many skill challenges which where it's like, if you have high luck, you gain a crazy good loot. If not, you gain nothing. And therefore, a high luck cultivator is really, really powerful in the early game for ACS. Definitely a thing. Very solid advice this guy's given here. Alright, so we're now at rank at level 74, getting closer to the next nether boss. I somehow doubted that I will be able to tackle him down, but I want to try. And by the way, I totally forgot that I had the nether shop to place down. Man, silly old me, all chatting and forgetting about the loot. Ultimately, you always want a raised sentient beast to become your strongest cultivator. Yeah, that's the thing. I am not there yet. That's one of the things I want to learn, how to cultivate beasts into strong cultivators. That's one thing I haven't done yet. Ooh. Oh, the Bob the Builder. This event finishes one of your projects ASAP. I was a little bit unlucky with this one though, because the Hell Knight was pretty close to be finished. Whoops. Well. Alrighty. The Yao Guy people, exactly. They come with way better base stats compared to mortals. And there's, as far as I know, mortals will never be able to match their base stats. And then you can increase those base stats even further with medicines, so... I wouldn't be too surprised if you would be able to reach a Yao Guy cultivator with 10 or almost 10 in all attributes quite easily if you min-max it correctly. Zura, Blood Drinker. Oh man, these crystal shards are such nasties. They never fling you back to the point where you came from. So, highest was 39 meridians when human max is 20. Oh my god. And the worst thing, I don't even know what meridians means. But I grew used to the fact that this game has so many layers where I'm like, ooh, what's that? Well, we're going to see. It'll all make sense one day. I like to call the game Amazing Confusion Simulator after all, for a reason. Alrighty, so now when I come back home, I wonder if I'm trying to slot in some traits into my artifacts, but whenever I would do that, I would personalize them pretty hard, or individualize. Well, maybe the meridians were something that was still a thing in the beta and got removed. That could be a thing that too, I don't know. But it could be also a layer, it just didn't reach yet. Alright. We just getting there. Okay, the druid proves to be way more powerful than I anticipated. But at the same time, I gotta say, this was my first attempt of doing something more specialized than I'm used to. So, everybody who wasn't here during the build-up phase, the build is quite easy. I got this Plague Alchemist in the middle who deals damage whenever stats get drained on the enemy side. Also, he's configured to destroy enemy buffs by transforming them into debuffs whenever he attacks. And the other two guys are basically just slotted to be stat drainers. So the automaton drains stats per se, but just taking turns, and the other guy is debuffing their stats when they take turns. So just to give you guys a quick heads up if you weren't around while I was building that stuff. Alright. Blue Quaker Alex. Oh, that's the master here. Basilisk Master. If you want to stand a chance, you'd better make sure you damage them between each of their turns. Okay. Then we're going to do that, I'd say. So, are they losing their stats in digits of hundreds? I wasn't aware of the fact that my stat drain went that hard. Jeez. Alright, no wonder that we're that resilient at this point, because honestly, the stat drain is maybe stronger than I thought. No, probably a valid strategy here. But why is my automaton defending? Ow! But I really want to check out what happened here. Yeah, I'm not getting actions here anymore. The druid is very vulnerable to the basilisks because the basilisks have... I might be even dead here at this point because of a simple thing. They put themselves up on the action bar whenever they don't get wounded. But maybe they're also suiciding here. Okay. Seems like that... Ow, confusion. Okay, confusion works decently to kill my critters. I gotta wait out the confusion. I'll die if I keep attacking, because confusion can also trigger on your units itself. So, hey, finally a fight. I was not winning by just holding down E. Good stuff. If all the creatures in your party are basilisks, they have a 20% chance to avoid damage. Sick. In addition, their innate traits have a 25% chance to activate even damage between their turns. Okay. So the Basilisk mechanic in itself is quite simple. They trigger something if they don't take damage in their last turn. They got all manner of different traits there. Alright. So probably I should really pay attention to confusion a lot, because since my critters are all massively buffed up after all, the biggest threat could actually really be their own brethren. Maybe that was partially those one-shots happening there. I don't know why that's even possible, because according to my perk here, new creatures are resistant to debuffs. Maybe resistant doesn't mean immune though. That could be the thing. But we increase more damage here, so we're now at 100% extra damage. We're dealing 20% more damage for each creature missing, and since we're officially missing 5 creatures, 100% more damage. Nice. From 50 to 100%. These new Master Off traits, I really like those. I don't know if they were part of Siralim 3 already, or well, I gotta say Siralim 3 I never have finished the base storyline, and then I saw that Siralim Ultimate was announced on Kickstarter, and then I quickly grew to that point where I was like, let's wait. Lista is where the ship that shipped one. No, far away enclave. Okay. I always keep messing up those two.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the follow, Oppenheimer Story. Welcome to the stream. Appreciate it. So I'm absolutely open for wishes in the future for the stream. I really love to know what you guys would like to see game-wise. So, because I always got a hard time deciding what to play because I'm just too much into gaming. It's my big problem. So many games, so little time. Rank 12 with Vulcanar. I should really check out the shops of those gods when I stop by again. So let's finish that floor and then finally place down the nether shop. I want to know what this place is selling, man. 14k damage. Never had such high numbers, but the combination of shredding down their stats and buffing up the creatures via druid perks seems to work out quite nicely. Wait a sec. I'm missing the main quest here. That's interesting. Oh yeah. In the last little corner. I don't mind. At least we cleared that floor thoroughly. I'm always a big fan of clearing the lowest floor here right now, exploring thoroughly, especially the deeper you go into the game, because that's where the best rewards are at. So we got the Hell Knight specialization. So which specialization to take next? So Sorcerer. That was Quiet Viewer's specialization, no? Masters of War. No, that doesn't sound like the stuff we heard there, or was it? Well, Evoker. Grove Tender. Oh no, Herblings. Not Nuggets, Herblings. Spellweaver. So many classes which were not pickable when we started the game. Rune Knight. Alright, that's something completely different here. So, oh yeah, I want to go for the Defiler. Because the Defiler basically already reflects the playstyle of my old Necromancer build. And I definitely wanted to try out if the Defiler could be an option for me to use my old build further. So my Goblet of Trials is 50%. Well, you know, 50% full. So let's see. Add a decoration, NPCs, Nether Shop. Here we go. Oh. It's a nice demon fella. Okay. Nethermancer Ned. Okay. Kiichi's Fang. It's an artifact trait. Ooh, after an enemy takes damage from bleeding, all other enemies take 50% of that damage. I see. So we get to buy items from the bosses we've slain so far. Neat. It's actually quite neat. So let's see, trade slots. I mean, it's not like I have no trade gems available. But I don't have the necessary brimstone to install them, so too bad. Alright, let's pay the next nether boss a visit. Blacksmith Yen, or... Oh, Tarun. I love Tarun. It's one of my favorite gods. Let's make him an offering. He's one of the friendliest people out there. He's the only god which gives you 0 favor whenever you make offerings for him. So... But if I remember correctly, or at least in Siralim 3, it was like, even though you don't receive any favor from him when you do those sacrifices, there was still an achievement for sacrificing stuff to him nevertheless, so... Yeah. I like Tarun. He's straightforward. Ooh, Azuras. Extreme crits. Long story short, extreme crits. Alrighty. Azura Flesh Stomper. It's so insane how many different creatures there are. Like, whenever I go for this game, I unlock dozens of creatures every time. And I was counting it when I was starting out today and creating that character. I was at around roughly 500 creeps. Different creeps. Of 1,200, or is it already 1,300? I don't know. I still have no clue why the creators of Magic the Gathering or other really good gaming or famous gaming stuff haven't recruited the developer of this game already. Because that guy is definitely a deep fountain of creativity. Because the most fascinating thing about this game is that most of the things here are really not repetitive at all. No, since a lot of that content has been forged since 3 games, it seems to me at least. I'm not following that long. A lot of that content has been polished since I don't know how many years. I really noticed that. There's almost nothing double, or almost no scenarios of, and this is this creature of the chaos element, and this is kind of like the same creature but only of another element, and this is yet the same creature but you get the idea. This game almost never does that. Ooh, there's the nether boss. Okay, let's go for a spankin'. Well, hello there, friend. Fancy seeing you here. Okay. Okay, he keeps blinking at me. Now he's hammering me. Okay. Everything here is quite whack. The whole story is pretty wacky, but that's okay. This creature takes 5% less damage for each time it took damage in the current battle. Maximum of 95% reduction. That's pretty horrible for me, because my Plague Doctor is dealing damage non-stop. So why does that take almost no damage? That's concerning me. At the end of each enemy's turn, this creature has a 20% inflicted with Confused. But that doesn't answer the question why this thing is stab resilient, though. Anywho, let's start to decimate the enemies. We're confused here. Just gonna pay close attention to the confusion stacks on my critters. Instead of attacking while confused, I'm just going to defend. Because like I already noticed a few combats ago, my creatures are super buffed, and therefore there's a high chance of them just one-shotting each other due to confusion. You really have to be careful with that. So instead we're just going to def it out until the confusion is over. Alright. Now this thing is melting. I really noticed that the continuous stat drain on of my critters really does a lot of magic. So this guy will now take... Oh, dang. Whoops. Me derpy. I really need to install resurrection skills in this team as well. It's really important. But, well, he's just going to take a while until he dies. He's either going to smack my critters away. That could be happening if I'm unlucky, but it's looking good so far. Oh, this guy is sealing spell gems. Alright. Alright, there's the leech on my unit again. Nether boss number 2, no problem. Nice. Seriously. I actually expected to die on this one. So what are my perks? Where are my perks at? So, aptitude, guerrilla tactics, sovereignty. Let's go for brood, more health. It's good to have more health. Alright. So every nether boss can be slain 3 times, I've heard. Don't know what comes after that. But there's a ton of nether bosses as well. So there's really so much content beyond the main story. It's lovely. Holy moly, the stat drain really hurts a lot now. This is really working well. Much better than I thought. Much better than I thought. But I had to swap the Spectre with the Abomination, because the Abomination seems to work way better for my strategy. Alright. But I really struggle with understanding why sometimes my units do no damage at all. Sometimes the damage gets mitigated to 0, but I guess if I would be here, prevented nemesis, okay. Does that mean he can only die once he's the last one? You see, there's always some kind of reason behind that. In this scenario, this guy was only killable when he was the last guy standing. Alrighty. It's amazing. Okay. So once I get back home, I want to check out what the Nether store has in stock for us. And also I want to take a look at the new class I have unlocked. I really just want to check out the perks there. Waspit Master. Ooh, my tribalist wants to check out your trait. There's nothing quite as terrifying as being chased by a swarm of waspits. You've been warned. Okay. Whatever, dude. Let's see how bad it'll be. The stat drain itself is just shredding them. Low HP enemies are squishy enemies are really being melted away by this strategy. It's insane. Master of Waspits. At the start of battle, your Waspits gain the final sting and endless swarm traits. Now, I got no clue what that is, but I'm pretty sure these are traits you want to have if you're playing Waspits. I'm pretty sure it's Well, Final Sting sounds like something that triggers when they die, and then the Swarm sounds like something which rewards tons of wasps on your team. As much I can already. That's as much as I can already tell. So happy to see you guys all here. I hope you're enjoying a nice weekend. I certainly enjoy this late night Siralim stream a lot. So, as I see here, there are moments where the damage still sticks, but ever since I have started to give my minions Mend and Leech, I really notice a pretty big difference. But at the same time, I'm not convinced that the artifacts which provide Leech with a certain percentage chance on hit are really making me happy in a longer time scale. And I also don't understand, or I have misunderstood the Druid perk, which like I really don't understand this one, because I must have misinterpreted it. I read immunity, but resistance does seem to mean a lower percentage chance of the debuff sticking. Like that's the only answer I can think of. Sad. Well, debuff immunity would have been too sick, though, gotta say. This game's balancing revolves around a lot around strong debuffs, so I think it must be something like that. Now, let's plunder to Rune's Realm a little bit more, I'd say. Oh, and I also want to check out what kind of what monster level we're battling here compared to our own level. It's a really interesting number after all. Alright. 12 new notifications. There's just so many new critters here again. Nice. I'm quite happy I've turned off the notifications of all the loot. This made the stuff way better to understand and keep track of. After this creature attacks, the target deals 100 damage to all your creatures. That's a very, very odd trade. But you can utilize that quite nasty, because there are a lot of creatures that do something whenever they get damaged. Do you happen to know the name of the creature with the trait that makes your gems immune to sealing? No. Sadly, no. I just wonder if I... No. I have a vague feeling like I have encountered that already. But, no. No chance of telling you that from the backside of my head, I'm sorry. I would love to. So, let's check out the Hell Knight's perks. I really want to know how this perk list looks like. When your creatures afflict enemies with burning, their attack is used to determine the potency of this debuff, if it is higher than their intelligence. I had no clue that burning is determined by intelligence. Now I know. Bolster. Your creatures take 1% less damage from attacks and spells for every person. This means you end up with a really nasty damage resistance at some point. I remember seeing that when he was going through all the creatures. I think it's a Paragon. Okay, let's check it out. Thanks, Break. Let's see... Paragons. Only need to find them. Paragon. It's now it's the question if they have that Paragon in their name, or Good that you mentioned it, Break, because I had the same feeling like I've seen that today while I was going through things. Paragons. Pillwiz. Phoenixes. Paragons. All spell gems can never be sealed. Thank you so much, Break. That was a really, really good recommendation there. Thanks. This is also working for the enemies, but I think with a formation like yours, Quiet Viewer, it's imperative to prevent that. Yeah, it does affect enemies too, though. Yeah. So you won't be able to seal enemies' spell gems, but I think there are worse things in life. Deadly Calm. Enemies cannot provoke. Sick. This is pretty sick, because that means you are always free to choose your targets. That's powerful. Death Sentence. Extra critical damage. We need to play Azuras with that. This is such a Azura trait. Dreadnought. Creatures attacks can be not. Okay. We attack an additional time. Period. I like that. Executioner. Extra damage per se. Not bad. Immunity to Scorn. Well, there's no stopping for the Hell Knight. When your creatures cast a spell, their attack percentage of their attack is added to their intelligence. Ooh, nice. That's a really nice one. This makes spellcasters way more potent, and if you roll a combination or a creature which has a personality which increases attack, and it's a base type that has a high intelligence, that's an insanely strong combo. Kindling. At the start of each battle, the first creature of your party casts Firestorm. The specialization is pretty obvious. All attacks, all the time, with a side of burning. I'd say that's a succinct summary. Cheers to that. Splashing and Savage. Splashing buffs now deal damage to all enemies. Pyromania. After your creatures attack, they have a chance to cast Flame Strike. Savage buff now causes them to have a What? So usually Savage just gives you another roll for crits. Put that. Auto crit. If you have Savage, auto crit. So Magma Diver and Reckless Abandon, auto crit. I think this is a sick combo. If I had only 200 points to spend, I would start with that. Because seriously, auto crit. And then follow with the double attack. Boom. Also, do you know how the trait of Caustic Cerberus works exactly? We're going to check it out. I'm going to have a look, see if I can understand it. After a creature's attack, they have a chance to afflict the target with a random debuff. Sure, why not? That's a 25% chance. Sick. Yeah. Sure, very straightforward, but very fun too. So, Caustic Cerberus. I felt like the Cerberus, or Cerberus, I think it's Cerberus, sorry. Creatures, I felt like they were really, really confusing. I have to find them. This game really needs a search functionality. Are they somehow? Let's see. Yeah, they are. It's alphabetic. No, I see it. So Centaur, Cerberus, Caustic Cerberus. This creature can't cast manually. Your creatures have more attack for each non-ethereal. So this guy basically buffs your creature's stats for each spell gem it has equipped. That's all. The more spell gems it has equipped, the more flat stat bonus you get on your team with that. That's all, I'd say. Please correct me if I have forgotten something. Now, I wanted to check out this thing here. So, prophecies. Turn in your rune of prophecies. Let's see how much I did. Okay, let's try that out. It's the first time for me, so... Piety, granite, and some knowledge points. Does the type of gem matter for the stats it hands out? I don't think so. Well... Yeah, Break, I totally agree with you. It is pretty strange that the game states out every element separately. It could also just say all gems, all non-ethereal gems. I think, I would guess it does matter. That's the only reason I could imagine why it's staggered like that. But I'd say go over to the Discord and try to find somebody from the dev side, because this is a pretty nifty question. I mean, we got 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7 stats. I mean, Chaos correlates to attack, Sorcery correlates to intelligence, Nature to speed, Death to defense, Life to health. We could, I could understand it like that. I'm pretty sure it works like that. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to work like that. I could be wrong, but I would bet my pennies that for each Chaos gem you get 5% attack and so on. So you can arrange it yourself which kind of stat you want to boost mostly. That's what I would say. But I'm not sure. Problem is that you don't get a decent readout of the stat bonuses as of now. I hope that will be fixed in the... Or do you get a proper readout? Or maybe I'm talking nonsense here right now. So, relics. I haven't even read all the relics as of yet, but I have now piety to buy some. So, they do refer to those stats a lot, yeah. Slightly oddly worded, if so. Also reliant on the creature you fuse with. Jeez. Yeah, talk about complexity. Talk about complexity. At least I have it equipped with 8 sorcery gems and it has evocation. Holy moly. That sounds pretty big though, gotta say. Also, I'll do this Aeolian Realm and I'm going to sadly say good night for today, everybody. But I'd say we did have a good show for today. So I do plan on doing little guides on the character classes. I mean, sure, the Hell Knight looks really, really obvious, but I think there are way less obvious combos. But well, let's see what I can do there. All right, but so far Druid works out insanely well. So for the next stream here, we might be doing some other class. I really enjoyed the approach of today. It was a really fun time. There's probably some interesting things you can do with Hell Knight too, true. Yeah, I might even think that the Hell Knight might be one of the easiest classes to be optimized because there's nothing which puts a knot into your brain, you know? It's pretty straightforward, and therefore it's also pretty easy to optimize it. Although I think in the long run, and that's when I say long run, I mean the late game, because I've seen people talking about monsters that had like level 800k. I think in those stages, in late game stages, it might be that the Hell Knight is just not versatile enough. But I'm pretty sure that this specialization will slice through the early and mid game like a hot knife through butter. Spellcasting with attack modifiers isn't particularly bad either. Yeah, exactly. I was pretty surprised about the niftiness of this trait, because it really, if you have the proper setup with a critter that inherits, that inherits the attack stat here, because of its nature, and has a high base intelligence. I've mentioned it already, but It sounds like crazy strong. Super late game is probably very reliant on cascading stats, gains, and reductions. I have literally no clue. Erebus is Path of the Damned. The thing is, I had, like I said, Siralim 3, I haven't even cleared the main story, and Siralim Ultimate is the first one where I'm going that deep into the content, and I want to see how far I can get. Hey Skytex! I'm doing great. Like, enjoying the stream a lot, and also finished enough work today to enable me to do some streaming across the weekend. So we're going to have a stream weekend with 2 streams at Saturday and Sunday. I'm really looking forward to that, because I really started to enjoy the streaming a lot. It's a very nice change of pace. It's way more interactive than my recording work. These guys are tanky, aren't they? Good thing that the Plague Doctor is here to remove the buffs. Smack. Really like that I fused in the trait that destroys buffs, because I really realized how dang strong buffs can be. It's so hard sometimes to destroy units when they're buffed up. It's insane. But Skytex, you really catched me at the end of the stream, so you were quite lucky. So after this realm, I'm going to go offline for today. But, well, which games will I play? Well, what do you want to see? I was actually asking around a lot today, and except for Satisfactory, I had no real answers. I'm really tempted to play some Stellaris again, but Siralim is my main for today. Yeah, I really dig Siralim a lot too now. This game is so much fun. Stuck with my... Oh, you're playing Animist? Ooh. Ooh. So, Kickfreak, you're voting for more ACS, right? We could do that. We definitely could do that. I mean, as far as I've seen, a lot of Siralim players did dig that game too. You come on, Mr. Mimic, can you please stop being invisible? It's friggin' rude. Come on, attack me, dude. Alright, so now we're sitting here and waiting for the invisibility to wear off. Meanwhile, we're stacking up debuffs like crazy, and that thing doesn't even care. What's wrong with this Mimic? Shouldn't he burn? What is that? Why is that thing not attacking me, though? And why does the invisibility not wear off? I don't know, I stuck and yeah, it feels really slow. And oh, yeah. Where are you stuck at, Skytex? Okay, that Mimic is actually trolling me. Now that's a very, very frustrating way to lose. We need to plug in a Dispel Gem. Probably the snares, yeah. Level 25. Oh, okay. Yeah, well... Oh, finally the invisibility wore off. I was close to a forfeit. Ah, well... The monk. The monk was that guy which was focusing on dodging stuff, so you would want to have the aspect monsters. Right, yeah. I don't know much about the class, but I know the critters the monk class likes to use. Need to plug in some spell gem that causes random attacks or AoE spells. Well, a Dispel Gem, a simple Dispel Gem would have solved all the issues, and I have one left which is compatible with death creatures, so I'll just plug that into the Abomination and I'm done with that problem. I also figured that I would like to have some Resurrection Gems as well, because if one of these guys is dying, a lot of my... well, nothing will work anymore. So, guess the Kiatian and the... Okay, I really... I really only know that the summer aspects and spring aspect monsters were kind of like the best stuff. But if I remember correctly, the problem was that you were encountering these critters way past level 24. So you are stuck with a lot of monsters which are not really compatible to your dodging scheme. That's really bad for you. Yeah. So you should... Oh man, I don't know the monk traits from the backside of my head, so I need to unlock those, then I could help you. But basically, you can brute force a lot of things by just going for straight attackers. And also, maybe reset your perk points and focus on the perks which cost 100 perk points. They are most of the time the most powerful stuff a class has to offer. Alright, well, you selected some more difficult classes to play, or well, difficult is the wrong word, resource intensive, I would rather say. Without a lot of perk points, you're likely going to want to build a generic team anyway. Break is exactly pointing out what I was trying to say as well. I guess I need to find a build like the Demon Hunter in D3. Well, they are quite easy at monsters. There is this brownie guy, which does splash damage. He's really insanely powerful. I also did a beginner's guide on the game on YouTube, where some nice person put a comment down below my video where he pointed out a lot of creatures you get from the start which make a pretty decent team. You might want to check that out. Just look for a beginner's guide for Siralim, and you should find my video somewhere. And the comment down there was one of the best I've seen in a while. That guy really nailed it. Very grateful for people adding those things. Alright, Stromblad, the Storm Master. Storms! I love storms. Storms are the strongest when they're completely healthy. Yeah, exactly. So let's see what that thing will do to the storms. I really love to play storms in Siralim 3. So I was just about to turn off the stream, but there are more and more people flooding in. Hi there and welcome. Happy to have you guys. Copying some other person's build is probably not the most fun though. That's true. But if you're stuck at a position, I mean, I always try to avoid giving what's it called? Cookie cutter builds, like you have to take this, this, and this, and this, and this. I really don't like to do that. I always try to give ideas instead of solid formations, because I totally agree with you, Break. So, if all the creatures in your party are storms, their innate traits now activate while they're above 60% health, instead of 90%. Storms have a regular thing of 90%. Really cool. I really love those masters. They are so adding so much, yet another layer into the game. So I haven't looted any new cards. Aw, too sad. Alrighty. The damage here is insane. Like, the stat drain does a lot of damage already, and the lower defense afterwards is making the enemies that vulnerable. I wonder how long this will work before it is not cutting through the enemies that easy anymore. Alright. Oh, we found a card. Centaur Ranger. So, if we have 2 cards or more, my creatures deal more damage to nature creatures. Cool. So sadly, cards only do something once we have more of the set. That was a little bit easier to acquire in Siralim 3. In Siralim 3, every card had an instantaneous effect once you collected it. In this game, you have to collect more of the same before they can do something. But I really love that, because these are insane passive bonuses in the long run. I think when you're in the late game of Siralim, you barely you'll be barely able to pay attention to the vast cascade of effects on your critters. I feel like this must be truly difficult to pay attention to that. Okay, oh, there's the feather. I want that. So 300 favor, a few pieces of loot. I think that was it. Okay, that's the point to say good night today. I thank all of you so much for hanging around so long, and everybody who has been the first time here and has had my chat with has had a chat with me. Dang, talking. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet you guys. Drop a follow on the channel if you want to stay informed. Like I mentioned several times, I'm streaming pretty much every day during the week, Monday to Friday, 10 p.m. at GMT+1 time zone. And as it happens, this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, at the same times as well. Certainly there's a limit to cascading. Pretty sure about that. We're going to see. Alright, so like I said, thanks for watching and have a nice weekend, everybody. See you soon!